welcome to another episode of Here Come the Irish. This week, you get two of us in Here Come the Irish sweatshirts. Ryan Harris, Vic Lombardi, 9-0, baby. 9-0. That is what you call unblemished. Let's hope it continues.
And I love, too, the approach that the Irish took. I got to talk to some of the players in passing at the hotel. I said, how was your Thanksgiving? They're like, it wasn't great. We're going to make them pay tomorrow. And they did. They made North Carolina pay after the big time off, and they stopped one of the most powerful offenses in the country and the number one offense in the ACC. An amazing day. Great job by Coach Kelly, Ian Book, Kyron Williams, and, oh, by the way, Clark Lee, who held that and made sure that defense, after losing Kyle Hamilton, gave up 0 points in the second half.
This football show is for you, those who make Notre Dame what it is today. We're going to talk to a Notre Dame legend later in the program. We're going to visit with some writers from the Observer, hear from coaches, both Coach Kelly and Coach Babers of Syracuse, the upcoming opponent, and, of course, Vic's picks a little bit later. You touched on North Carolina, and I think nothing suggests the respect now given to Notre Dame nationally than this. The college football poll came out. Last week, North Carolina was 19th in that poll. This week, after losing to Notre Dame by 2 touchdowns, they actually move up in the rankings to 17th. That's crazy to me.
It makes no sense. It's the paradox of playing at Notre Dame. You know, the whole time, whether it was Clemson and a freshman who hadn't played in a big game, or Phil Jurkovec, the guy who couldn't beat out Ian Book, was all of a sudden going to outplay Ian Book at Boston College. And then you got to hear about North Carolina's quarterback, Sam Howell. And yes, he had a great deep ball, but how many more games does Ian Book have to go through before he's the quarterback people are talking about? This team that averages over 260 yards rushing offensively is the team to talk about. The defense that is one of the best in the nation. When are they going to talk about Notre Dame? And I believe that North Carolina game, that was the final time that Ian Book's not going to be considered a top prospect and a top player in the college football landscape.
You're so right, because even in that Carolina game, so much praise going towards Sam Howell. And in the second half, Sam Howell did virtually nothing. He did nothing in the second half of that game. Ian Book did a lot, did enough to win the game for the Irish. And Ian Book, frankly, as Brian Kelly said, it's ridiculous that he's not considered among the Heisman candidates in the country today. It's a slap in the face, to be honest with you.
Well, Mac Brown said the same thing after the North Carolina games. I don't know if he's in the conversation for the Heisman, but he needs to be. 12 passing touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns, 18 total, 2,000 yards passing, and 1 interception. It's amazing what Ian Book has been able to do,
right.
And his leadership is amazing as well.
He's 29-3 as a Notre Dame quarterback. He's 29-3. Hey, by the way, They cut up to the Notre Dame coaches booth a couple times, and I saw you standing next to the coaches booth in the broadcast booth over there representing. I saw you over there.
You know, the
lost,
one day I don't wear my Speedo when I broadcast. Usually, Vic, I'm in my Speedo to feel the game, but I decided not to do it. I thought North Carolina was going to be cold. It was as warm as California. It was an amazing atmosphere, but glad I could take a little shine off of Clark Lee, man. We want to keep him here, so we can't let him get too much attention.
Hey, after the first 2 touchdowns of that game, when Carolina put 14 on the board, were you like everybody else thinking, oh my goodness, this may be an 80-80 game. The scoring's going to be crazy? Because the scoring stopped after that first quarter, didn't it?
It really did. I wasn't concerned because if you think about it, that's how Clark Lee's defense has performed all year. They're going to come in with a plan, and they're going to make adjustments even before the first half. It reminds me a lot of when I played against Bill Belichick defenses in the NFL. You're going to have success in the first quarter against Bill Belichick. He's going to do something to change, and then the game begins. And that happened in Boston College.
What did you see? What adjustments did they make?
Well, they were getting far more in the passing lanes, and also the pass rush was getting after Sam Howell a lot more. Ade Ogundeji had a fantastic game. Dalen Hayes as well. Myron Tungavailoa Amosa was gigantic in that game. And that allowed Clark Lee not to blitz and to leave more people in coverage crossing those passing lanes that the quarterback wants to look at. And that was the difference. The defensive line for Notre Dame started ratcheting up their tempo and aggressiveness, and that made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, but when I saw Kyle Hamilton get ejected for that targeting and North Carolina was just mowing up and down the field, I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a long day. Notre Dame got better. They got stronger after that decision. It was
Yeah.
remarkable to behold.
And that's the depth of the recruiting. That's the intelligence of Clark Lee and the players. But also think about this. It's confidence for future games. How many more players had a bigger responsibility? You know, Jordan Genmark Heath got to get in there. Houston Griffith got to get in there. DJ Brown. So now you've got players who have been in meetings all year, and now they're able to spend some time and see themselves on the field, see themselves make a play. It creates more buy-in and more confidence, and you're going to need both of those things moving forward into the ACC championship and beyond.
How much do you enjoy, as a former lineman yourself, when the Irish trot out 4 tight ends? I mean, they got a 4 tight end set.
Oh, I mean, it was glorious. And what I loved is by the time the game was over, I was, I went to Twitter and, Mike Golick Jr., tweeting, God's looking down with joy. All these people recognize how awesome it is. But you also got to see there's mismatches everywhere. You put 4 tight ends on the field with with the best offensive line in college football. I mean, that defense was scared before the snap. And what a powerful formation that says, guess what we're going to do? Run it down your throat. And, oh, by the way, 3 of those guys can catch touchdowns as well.
Your thoughts on what the ACC decided earlier this week, that the Wake Forest game, which is pretty negligible as far as Notre Dame is concerned, they decided to just take that off the map. They're not going to play that Wake Forest game.
Yeah, I love that. And really, you have Clemson to thank. Dabo Swinney has gone nuclear on Florida State because they didn't play the game due to COVID. And he said, we're not rescheduling the game. He played chicken with the ACC, and the ACC blinked. It was really interesting to see, but it didn't make sense for Notre Dame to risk a game at Wake Forest, risking injury, risking more travel and less time to prepare for Clemson, while Clemson had a 2-week break. So they had to do something to balance it out competitively. And really, those games didn't matter at this point in the season because of the fact that Notre Dame and Clemson had the best winning percentage in the ACC. So they were in the game.
Well, the Irish put themselves in a wonderful situation right now. Number 2 in the country, leading the ACC, undefeated, 9-0, and they got there by beating Carolina. Here's a look back at that game.
Book takes off. He's got some space and a blocker. Ian Book inside the 10 and knocked. 2nd and goal. Williams muscling, leaning, and scoring on that right side. Play action. Book has to avoid the rush. Wafting downfield and a leaping catch made by Javon McKinley. Backpedaling, trying to make something happen. Book flips it down, and from a disastrous start, they're going to get a score. And he makes it 13 for 17 on the year with the chip shot. They take it to Williams. This is Book on the run sideline. Now there's Skoranek who's got it. They gave him a little cushion, and he collects it and gets to midfield. Tight ends roll to the right. Skoranek on the end around, and he will score standing up. Pure power football. The Irish run behind big bodies, and it's a 97-yard touchdown drive to claim the lead. Come. Howell trying to escape, and he can't. Your guy Leofow just came barreling into the backfield. Williams won't get there. Pressured, flushed, chased. An underhanded flipping in traffic. Are you kidding me?
I don't know if anybody can make that play other than 12 for Notre Dame.
Howell could have run early, hesitated, and then it closed down. Well, the Irish will try to ground and pound and shoot clock, and a good start to the drive as Kyron Williams is in the clear. Tried to deliver one of those stiff arms. Morrison ushers him out. That's Book looking to throw for it on 3rd and 5. Pitch, catch, dive. Takis. 1st and goal. Williams easy. Victory formation. Brian Kelly's Irish continue to do what they're supposed to do.
What a fun game to watch after a Thanksgiving meal. Maris Leofow, by the way, was unbelievable. Incredibly physical blitzing, an incredibly physical presence. I loved his game. How about Ben Skoranek on the end around? Who saw that play coming? Well, next we're going to go to Aiden Thomas of the Observer. It's a winning formula. He joins us every week to talk to you about the defense for Notre Dame's upcoming opponent this week, the Syracuse Orangemen. Welcome, Aiden.
Hey, Ryan, how's it going this week?
Doing good, my friend. Before we talk football, let's talk turkey. I mean, really talk turkey. How was your Thanksgiving? What was your favorite dish what was your plate approach this Thanksgiving?
Well, I'm from a big family, so the plate approach is pretty competitive. You got to make sure you get to the turkey before the legs are gone. You got to make sure you get the sweet potatoes. I mentioned that last week. That's my go-to. So turkey and sweet potatoes were the priority, and then we started filling in with the rolls, the stuffing, kind of fill off the plate a little bit.
See, I like that. I feel like too often people go for mashed potatoes. That's a staple. You can get that any day of the week.
Exactly.
You got to go for the sweet potatoes and the stuffing. And what was your dessert du jour, the dessert of the day for you?
So I went with my sister made a chocolate cake and a pumpkin cake, and then my brother made a pumpkin pie. So we kind of switched between those three.
Nice. I like it. Well, let's talk about the Orangemen. No doubt we didn't eat enough fruit over the Thanksgiving break. What's the structure of this defense from just a 30,000-foot view?
Yeah, absolutely. The Syracuse actually has a pretty unique defensive setup. They have a 3-3-5, which is something that defensive coordinator Tony White, he's in his first year at Syracuse, but he's run it before at Arizona State, a couple other places. And it's kind of a unique setup. They basically set up substitute a lineman for a defensive back, and they really put the emphasis on having a really athletic secondary that can force a lot of turnovers, which is something Syracuse has done pretty successfully so far this season.
So when it comes to those turnovers, who is somebody that Notre Dame's going to have to look out for?
So the Syracuse is, you can call him a veteran because he's a sophomore, and Syracuse does start 6 freshmen. But Michael Jones is a linebacker, and he has 4 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles. So he's a huge guy. Syracuse has forced 17 turnovers overall, and Jones is huge in that. And then you look at some of the freshmen. Cornerback Garrett Williams has a couple of interceptions, and defensive back Jahad Carter has an interception and a forced fumble. And then linebacker Marlo Max has 3 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. So he's also getting in the backfield, trying to punch out the ball and really trying to set offenses behind the chains.
Well, where's the opportunity for Notre Dame this week against this Syracuse offense or defense? Put on your offensive coordinator hat.
So with the 3-3-5, it tends to be weaker towards the rush defense, which is exactly what Tommy Rees and Notre Dame wants to hear. As good as Ian Book is with his backhand flips and everything else that he did against UNC, Notre Dame loves to run the football, and they would just – since Syracuse is giving up over 200 yards a game, Notre Dame's running for 260 yards a game. So if I'm Notre Dame, I'm taking Kyron Williams, I'm taking those 4 tight end sets, I'm taking Chris Tyree, and I'm running absolutely down Syracuse's throat on Saturday.
You have no idea how happy it makes me to hear multiple people love the 4 tight end set. It's how you can win football games. It's really, really amazing. Thank you so much, Aiden. We'll talk to you before the ACC championship game. Enjoy the week.
You too, Ryan. Thank you.
Now, even though Syracuse does not look to be the foe that Notre Dame has fought throughout the season, they still are going to have to focus to win this game. And here's Coach Kelly talking about that focus.
Coming off a really solid win on the road, our guys get a chance to finish up the home schedule. Seniors playing in their last game, the chance to win a 24th consecutive home game, clinch an ACC berth in the championship game. All those are outcomes that are in play this weekend. But I think the most important thing for us is to carry on the play that we exhibited in the second half of the game against North Carolina. I think that's the focus. That's what we've talked about. We're much more interested in bringing that style of football to Syracuse and Wake Forest leading into the ACC championship. So the outcomes that I talked about are certainly important. Seniors' last game, clinching an ACC championship, but the style of play, one that I think was arguably our best 2 quarters of the season, will be what we talk about all week in our preparation.
Much more relaxed, Brian Kelly. The teeth of the schedule is behind him. Now they're down to the gums. which is the Syracuse Orangemen, the 1-9 Syracuse Orange. Let's bring in from the Observer. She visits us every week to talk about the opposing team's offense. Charlotte Edmonds joining us via Zoom tonight. Charlotte, how are you?
Doing great. How are you, Vic?
Good. I remember the olden days when Syracuse fielded a competitive football team. My goodness, what is wrong with this team?
I think one of my first games to travel with for the Observer was to Yankee Stadium when Syracuse was a top 20 team. So it wasn't that long ago. That was just 2 years ago that they were certainly competitive in the ACC.
Yeah, and I don't know how detailed we can get about their offense because the team is, I mean, look at, they're 1-9 now. I'm looking at their schedule. Their one win came against Georgia Tech, so they got that going for them. They lost to Liberty 38-21. They gave BC a game. They lost to BC 16-13. Other than that, not much to highlight. What kind of offense do they run?
Well, you're right. Frankly, one of their best losses might have been the Clemson loss, which was still by 20 points, but they put up 21 points, which the short of it is that this Syracuse team, their offense is really not much to write home about. They're averaging 17.5 points per game, 3 rushing touchdowns on the season, only 14 passing touchdowns. So it's not like they can trade off one for the other. They're just lacking across the board. And they're really not even getting into the red zone. They only have 11 field goal attempts on the season. So I think that I expect this to be a low scoring game for the Orange. They average around 250 total yards per game. But really, this has kind of been an evolution over the season. Their starting quarterback, Tommy DeVito, who stepped in 2 years ago at Yankee Stadium as the backup, he went out against Duke with a season-ending foot injury, and Rex Culpepper has stepped in and has really kind of struggled to find his groove. He did have 254 yards against NC State. I would say this last week's game against NC State seemed to be that Syracuse was starting to piece some things together, but unfortunately ended with a tragic 4th down spike where they didn't even have a chance at trying to stay in it. So it seems like there's some pieces out there. I would be wary I would caution any Notre Dame fan who thinks this is going to be a 45-0 routing. This is still Syracuse, but so far they haven't given us anything throughout the season to suggest that they'll be competitive.
Yeah, I'm looking at their running backs. It's hard to be too upset about what they do on the ground game, considering what the Irish did to the North Carolina running backs last week. Basically shut them down after the first quarter. Can you see Syracuse getting any traction on the ground?
No, and I frankly don't think that they'll try very much against NC State this past week. They only had 3 rushing yards, and I think they only attempted to run the ball 6 times. So it seems like here they're maybe trying to shift a little bit more, understanding the only chance for them to stay in this game is to try to hit a few long passes, like a few deep balls, and potentially get some scores there. But I don't expect them to have much success in the run game, nor do I expect them to try very much. But they have 2 receivers, Taj Harris and Nykeem Johnson, who you can expect to be getting the majority of those looks. Harris has 13 yards per catch, 73 yards per game. Johnson had an 83-yard catch against Clemson, I believe, and definitely has been one of the favorite targets in the red zone.
Charlotte, I'm not sure there's much else to break down. Syracuse is not good, so why waste any more time on this? Thank you for your analysis, and we'll talk to you next week, okay?
Sweet, thank you.
All right, up next, head coach of those Syracuse Orange, Dino Babers.
Everybody that's in this room in a pandemic year, my goodness gracious, I appreciate it. You look at what's going on, National Football League, and even college games, and the effort they've put forth, the things that they're doing off the football field, that has given us an opportunity to line up and play every single game. It's going to pay off. I mean, that's not wishful thinking. The analytics says it's going to pay off. If you're on the field, you're going to get better as long as you stay on the field. So I'm looking forward to another opportunity to be on the field in 2020 so that it can pay off in 2021.
Well, let's keep you waiting, Coach. But we're not going to keep this Notre Dame legend waiting any longer. With 4 individual national titles at Notre Dame. Oh, by the way, she's going to represent not just Notre Dame, but the United States in the 2021 Olympics because she decided to run a marathon one day and she happened to place 2nd in the Olympic trials. She loves donuts, so I love her. Please welcome Molly Seidel. Molly, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, let's talk about your illustrious career. And the fact that you hadn't ran a marathon ever in your life. You decided to run your first marathon and you placed second in Olympic trials. What was that like?
It was absolutely crazy. I have to say, I was definitely so nervous going into that race. I'd been training really hard, but yeah, kind of like you said, it was the first time I'd ever run a marathon and figured no better place than the Olympic trials. It only comes around every 4 years. I'd gotten the qualifier, so lined up, and it went better than I ever could have imagined.
And this is after a huge hip surgery you had, right? You just had a hip surgery and you had to change your whole training routine. I love too. I read you said you were trying to compare yourself to others, but then you stopped doing that and just tried to run your best race. What was that process like after surgery, trying to find a new way to train?
Yeah, so basically, I had hip surgery in 2018, and I couldn't run for about 6 months after that. And then once I came back, it was a really long, slow grind getting back into training just because generally I'm like for marathon training, I'm running upwards of 120 miles a week. And going from running no miles for half of a year to doing that, it was really hard. And I really had to kind of change the way that I approached the sport. And a lot of it was just realizing, like, okay, my body's pretty different from other people's bodies, and I kind of just have to like accept that and be confident in that, in the way that I was training. And once I did that, I feel like I kind of had a breakthrough and I was able to just like access this new level of training that I hadn't before when I finally started like kind of just trusting in myself and believing in myself.
Now, welcome to the life of a lineman. Your body's a little different. You got to train different than everybody else. But you also had to, I mean, one of the things people don't know about Olympians like yourself, training is very scheduled so that you peak at the right time. And then coronavirus put a hold on your Olympics. What have you done in the face of this adversity, both scheduling and training wise, to maintain your physical condition?
Yeah, so it was definitely really difficult right when we got the word because it was like this enormous high of qualifying for the Olympics, and then literally 2 weeks later, felt like the entire world shut down. And so we had to really format like all these plans that we'd had going forward for the summer just kind of like went away in an instant. And so my coach and I, we talked and really tried to look at this extra year that we got as an opportunity to get stronger because realistically, I'm super inexperienced at the race that I do. And we're like, okay, if we get the opportunity to train for an extra year now, potentially race another marathon, like it will be that much stronger when we head to Tokyo. So yeah, I did exactly that, kind of just nose to the grindstone, trained throughout the pandemic. Every run that I've done in Boston since March has been in a mask. But yeah, I got to race the London Marathon in October. Felt like I've gotten in really good training, and I'm really excited as we head into this new year and looking forward to next August.
Well, in London and Tokyo won't be your only trips international you've taken. You've also gone to Ethiopia to support the foundation Girls Gotta Run. First of all, I love Ethiopian food. I mean, the injera is fantastic. For those who don't know, Google an Ethiopian restaurant and get some takeout because it's phenomenal.
It's insanely good food. Yeah.
Oh, the Doro Wat, all of that, you know. But I just think it's so amazing that you continue to serve others. And I love what you said in your post. You said changing the world one step at a time. What has it been like to go to Ethiopia and talk about training and marathon running with younger women in the world?
Yeah, it's really been incredible that I feel like I've gotten to do so many things through this sport that like running can be such a like individual sport so many times, and getting the chance to give back through that and kind of use my knowledge and my experience to be able to help others, especially girls in the program who are like 12 to 16. Many are very passionate about running, but they face really real challenges in their life, whether it's poverty with childhood marriage or coming from broken families. And so being able to like connect with them through running has been such a deeply moving experience for me. And I feel like I've learned so much from them too. And truthfully, when I'm over there and I'm doing workouts with them, a lot of times they're kicking my butt in these workouts. We're at like 9,000 feet. So yeah, I feel like it's so powerful for me to get to go over and help out. But I also feel like they have influenced me so much in how I approach my own life.
Well, and speaking of training at high altitude, I read you're also in Denver, and you have to let me know next time because I actually have my own donut. Here we won a Super Bowl I ate so
What?
much of this donut shop that they gave me my own donut. It's a glaze with orange creamsicle filling. It's fantastic. We'll have to do it next time
What's
you're
the donut
training.
shop? What's the donut shop?
It's called Habit Donut Dispensary. We kind of play on words here in Denver. So
Ooh,
it's a
I like
fantastic.
that.
Yeah, it's an artisan donut shop, though. Very
Oh,
artisan.
that sounds really bougie.
Yeah. Hey, well, maybe I am. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. One of the things I love about your story the most, and it's amazing what you have done in your career. I mean, Molly, you're one of the most decorated, if not the most decorated athlete to ever come through Notre Dame. But after being in the NFL for 10 years, what I love is your honesty about how hard it has been mentally to be an athlete. I had a mental performance coach my entire career, and you've been honest about working your way out of things to make you successful. What was your process to create the mindset and the freedom in your mind to reach your greatness?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is I struggled with my mental health all through college. And I think having the people around me that were able to let me get help and support me through that and not stigmatize what I was going through, that is ultimately what helped me be able to come out of it and be able to finally get healthy and start really taking my mental health seriously. And I just realized now, looking at in the sport that I'm in, how big of a role mental health plays, not only in just performance, but just in your day-to-day life. And so I'm always the first to say is if your mind isn't right, your body's not going to be able to perform to its fullest capacity. So I do a lot now in terms of still working with the therapist, still trying to check in with my mental health. And that's not to say that I don't have ups and downs and times that I really struggle. But I think just being aware of it and having the support network around me has been absolutely instrumental. I would not have made the Olympic team without my support network around me supporting me the entire way.
That's incredible strength. I mean, I've been on teams and it's hard to say, hey, I need help, or hey, I'm dealing with this. And not only that, you're an inspiration for others who are in sport, who need to focus on their mental health as well. And I just want you to know before I ask your last question, I mean, you are the epitome of a Notre Dame graduate. Not only are you great, not only did you graduate, you've gone beyond, inspired women around the world. And oh, by the way, talk about an issue that is very, very at the forefront of our minds. A recent study said that Americans went from 20% of a mental health issues and needing help with mental health to 40% in this COVID experience. So I just thank you for your leadership and for your strength. It really is amazing. And as a Notre Dame graduate and as a Notre Dame superstar in the world of sports, what does Notre Dame mean to you? When you think about campus and you think about your time at school, what do you think about the most?
So I grew up just immersed in Notre Dame. My mom went to St. Mary's. I grew up going to the Notre Dame football games. And I think when I was younger, I just saw Notre Dame. It was just such a family and just this place. It had energy. And every time I went to campus, I was so excited. And then I became a student there. And it was just even more than I could have imagined, because it's just I don't know, you kind of live it, you breathe it. It's an attitude towards everything. And even now, the work that I do in Ethiopia, the volunteer work, those are ideals and ideas about giving back that I really had fostered at Notre Dame. And so I feel it's just this sense of being more than just yourself. You're a part of something bigger. And every time I step on campus, I get that, and I still get it. And it's still fun whenever I go back to campus. So yeah, I would say that probably the Notre Dame legacy and what I feel there is just, you're a part of something bigger.
Well, you truly are. And just real quick, I always want to know, what are you looking forward to doing first when you touch down in Tokyo? I mean, you're officially going to be an Olympian when you touch down there. What's the one thing you're looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to going for a run through the city.
Nice. I like it. She is Molly Seidel, one of the greatest athletes to ever go through Notre Dame. Thank you so much, Molly, and good luck.
Thanks so much for having me. Go Irish.
Go Irish. Next, we'll go to your favorite part of the show. You get a chance to beat Vic Lombardi. It's enticing, I know. Here is Vic's picks.
Ryan, I'm a beaten man. I'm used to it. Trust me. Thank you very much. This week, we want to congratulate 3 winners from last week's Vic's Pick contest. Dale Frank Ryan Bernard and Don Ginocchio. All three of you beat me in the Notre Dame Carolina game. So congratulations. All right. On to this week's picks. It's pretty easy. You pick the game. You pick the spread. Will they cover the spread? How many yards of offense will the Notre Dame offense generate? And who's going to win the game? It's not hard. If you collect more points than I do, then you win yourself a T-shirt. We will open things up representing the congregation of Holy Cross, priest and residents of Dillon Hall. Father Joe joins us on Vic's Picks. Last name, Father Joe, help me out here. Is Corpora right. Or Corpora?
Either one works, but Corpora is what we generally say.
Beautiful. Father Joe Corpora. What do you think so far of the perfect season?
It's been amazing. I mean, anything that you can pull off during a pandemic is pretty amazing. But having games in person, all these victories, it's been great.
Dillon Hall is one of the tradition-rich dormitories that I've still got a lot of friends who lived at Dillon. What's it been like this pandemic semester, living in Dillon, operating that place?
Yeah. You know, in some ways, other than people wearing masks everywhere and keeping distance from each other, it's still Dillon Hall. Guys getting together as best they can, trying to visit, getting to know each other, sitting out in the lounge. Not as many people as you'd want to have, but fewer number. But it's been good. It's been good. If you looked at it from the outside, you'd say, yeah, this is Dillon Hall. This is what Dillon's about.
Good. I'm glad it hasn't changed too much. All right, Father.
No, it's been great.
Let's test your mettle here. Let's see what kind of football knowledge you bring to the table. Who do you like this week? Give us your numbers.
Okay, so I think Notre Dame will win, of course.
Yeah.
I'm predicting the score is going to be 42-10.
All right.
I'm saying Notre Dame will generate 535 yards, and they'll cover the spread.
Very good. The spread, it seems to increase every day. It's listed at 33.5. I've seen it as much as 35, 36. So a lot of money going on the Irish at this point. But Father, I like those picks. I really do. Best of luck to you. Hope we can send you a sweatshirt.
Thanks a lot, and thank you for your time.
No problem, Father. Take care. Say hello to everybody at Dillon Hall when they return to campus in February. Up next on Vic's
Thank you.
Vic's. From Ridgefield, Connecticut, representing the Jesse Harper Council, Tony Fernandez. Tony, time for your picks here on Vic's. Hey, how you? Oh, I like that.
Hey, Vic, how are you?
That. Good, thanks. That's a pretty bright.
Yeah,
I like it. I like everything about it.
Show the colors. You got to show the colors.
So where do you usually watch Notre Dame football? Do you watch in a quiet place, or do you gather among friends?
Well, usually with friends out in a bar somewhere. I go to quite a bit of the games for Notre Dame. But this year it's been a lot of watching at home with family and friends. Sometimes watching with family all together remotely.
Be honest, do you ride the roller coaster like I do? How worried were you at 14-7 last week?
Oh, man. When you were talking about that, I was just having nightmares, flashbacks to other games where, we were so close and blow them out and came up short. So I was glad to see the second half coming strong.
Yeah, it's so weird to watch a game and a team have success was easy for Carolina. Yeah. They're moving up and down. And then it's as if someone just turned off the fountain. It's just they turned off the faucet. You can't do anything else. It was awesome to watch.
I felt like slow motion for the first half.
Yeah. All right. What do you like this week?
So I'm saying an Irish win. Big game. Score 48-14. Cover the spread and 485 yards.
48-14. How many yards did you have there again?
485.
Okay, 485. Very good. I think that's doable. I think, this is one of those games where I think these are harder to predict than the tight end.
Yeah.
You just don't, where's the motivation, right? It's hard to stay motivated for a team.
Well, and there's a lot of motivation on both sides. So I think Syracuse is going to maybe surprise us with a little bit more scoring than most people think.
Hope they don't surprise them too much. Tony, thanks, man. And best of luck to you.
Thanks. Go Irish.
All right, take care. Up next, Kavanaugh Council out of Santa Ana, California. Wiley Aiken. Wiley. Hope you can win yourself.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Things are in California.
I was going to say, what's the weather like? A lot of these frigid temperatures have hit most of North America. What's it down to there, like 50?
Well, it's pretty frigid. It's going to go below 70 maybe.
Yeah, rub it in like that. I knew you would do that. What'd you think about last week, Wiley? Were you nervous?
Oh, just slightly, really. I thought in the long run they were going to pull it out, and they did it. So,
do you think that Notre Dame and the fact that they've been close in recent years still has, they're number 2 in the country, so I'm not saying they're not getting respect, but there are still a lot of detractors out there saying only a matter of time before the bottom falls out. Do you still get that feeling?
I don't get that feeling, but I can understand why other people would, since we watched 2 of the national title games they were involved in, and they were not very competitive.
Yeah, and I think the only way you eliminate that notion is to win. You just have to prove them wrong, and hopefully they'll be put in that position to do exactly that. All right, here we go. Wiley, who do you like this week? How much?
I like definitely, obviously, Notre Dame.
Okay.
I do not believe they'll cover the spread, and I see the score at 52-21.
Okay.
Notre Dame and 510 yards of total offense.
Yeah, that spread is always a funny little piece of business there. Why don't you think they'll cover?
I just think that it could be a motivation factor. It could be that Syracuse, it's their only bowl game this year, and they're going to come out and play it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you survive those 70-degree temperatures there in Santa Ana, my friend.
Well, I'll try to handle it. As a traveler, I'm used to it. I can handle it.
Take care. Best of luck. Hopefully we send you a sweatshirt.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Up next, right out of South Bend, representing the Rockney Athletics Fund, the class of 01, Steve Nekic. Steve, you're the next contestant. Oh, nice get up there. I like that sweatshirt.
Thanks, Vic. How you doing?
Good. How far away from campus are you?
About 15 minutes.
Nice. What you work for a business in town? Why are you still in town there?
I actually work at the university. I work on the corporate relations team.
Oh, beautiful. So corporate relations, what do you do exactly for the corporate relations team?
Yeah, so we work with companies to form mutually beneficial relationships at the university, whether the company wants to engage in corporate sponsored research with our faculty or provide scholarships for students or projects and classes. Really just any way a company would want to get engaged at the university, we help them find those opportunities.
Oh, I thought you were the guy behind that new Guinness ad with Joe Montana.
No, I wish. I'm not that fortunate.
Yeah, they play that a lot. All right. Who do you like this week, Steve? How much?
Yeah, I like the Irish big. 41-6. Syracuse, I think, is going to have trouble scoring. They've only scored 3 touchdowns in 2 different games this year. I think the Irish cover, and 499 yards, stopping just short of 500. I think we'll see the seniors get to go out to nice applause in the third, maybe early fourth quarter, and get some of the backups in there and get them some time.
Yeah, I was going to say this could be one of those games where you might have a backup quarterback in the fourth quarter, maybe the second half.
I would hope so. We need to get some more experience for sure.
It's one of those games where you just don't want to get anybody hurt, right? Just make sure you go in unscathed. Do not get scathed on this game.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
All right, Steve. Thanks, man. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thanks. Take care. Go Irish.
From the John Cardinal O'Hara Society, class of 11 MBA, Laura Polly joins us on the show. Lori, I should say. Lori, how are you?
I'm good, Vic. How are you?
I'm great. I like that hat behind you right there on the mantle. Got it perfectly situated in this photo.
That's a little nod to my classmates from class of 2011.
Nice. So where did you live? Were you off campus, or did you have any on-campus residence when you got your MBA?
I was off campus. I went through the Chicago class up there. So,
okay.
But
how does that work?
It was every other weekend, but they brought us to campus where we lived on campus for various weeks throughout the whole program. And so you very much felt like, you had the Kool-Aid in your blood, so to speak.
Yeah, that's pretty. They just wanted you to get a taste. Make sure you know what campus is like. That's good. That's very vital to any Notre Dame student. All right.
Yeah.
What do you see happening this week, Lori?
So I'm seeing a lot of threes in the numbers this week.
Okay.
And it's going to start out with Ian Book is going to move his record to 30-3, which means a win for Notre Dame.
Okay.
I don't believe we're going to cover the spread because I think the score is going to be 33-3. And we're not covering the spread, not because we can't, but something that even you said earlier. I think we're going to reach that score somewhere in the third quarter. And at that point, that's where we're going to start getting a glimpse of new players, maybe even some new plays we haven't seen before. But Notre Dame's just not a team that's going to run the score up just because they can. And yardage, I'm going to go with 473. But yeah, I'm feeling threes this weekend.
Wow. Excuse me, ESPN. I've got your substitute here for Kirk Herbstreit. Her name is Lori. Yeah, she's got all the analysis you need, right? That was tremendous, Lori. I mean, you had a whole book ready to go on this. Good job.
Yeah, well, we're hoping Ian has the book this weekend.
Good job. I will send you this sweatshirt personally if you beat me. We'll see you next week.
All right, sounds good.
Take care. From the Order of St. Thomas More, we got a combo platter here. 2 people in attendance. It is Mike and Ann Braun from Sarasota, Florida. Mike and Ann, how are you?
Hi, Vic. How are you?
We're great. Thanks, Vic.
Great. So how nasty is the weather in Sarasota right now?
Well, we're actually up in Cincinnati right now.
Okay.
It's cold here. We're on our way back next week.
All right.
But we used to live in your hometown. We used to be in Denver.
Oh, really? How long ago?
Yeah. We were there for 14 years.
Oh, my goodness.
2018. We love listening to you, Vic, out there.
We always listen to you.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, man, I feel nervous about it. Well, thank you very much. Did you miss Denver at all?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Got some great friends there, great weather. But we're closer to family now, and we're closer to warmer weather. So
good for you. Yeah, that warm weather has a way of attracting. All right. So tell us, what do you think is going to happen this week?
All right, Ann, go ahead.
Well, we think Notre Dame's going to win, and we think the final score is going to be 42-6.
Okay.
We think that we are going to cover the spread, although the spread from when we did this keeps going up. So hopefully that we will cover the spread. But I understand what might happen with the senior players and things. And we think the total yards are going to be about 488.
Beautiful. So how do you watch games together? Does it get tense at times, or is it all just happy-go-lucky?
Well, we watch every game. We're season ticket holders.
Okay.
So when we can be in the stadium, we're in the stadium.
How much did you miss the stadium this year?
Oh, we missed it a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place not only where we get to see Notre Dame, it's where we meet all our family and their children, and it's all of our homes away from home.
Isn't it crazy, guys, how time sort of stopped? I'll watch a game from yesteryear with fans in the stands, and my brain cannot compute. Like, that was like 8 months ago. It feels like 8 years ago, doesn't it?
It's like the Harry Oliver game. He always brings that up to me.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
That was back when you could change tickets out, and he took half of the game, and I took half of the game because we had a couple toddlers with us.
Change tickets out. They won't let you do that anymore.
No, I got to see the kick. He didn't.
I didn't. I'll never forgive her for that.
Hey, Bronze, thank you very much. Hope you win.
Vic.
Okay, take care.
All right.
Coming in now, David Kostolensky, class of 64 from Warren, Ohio.
Hi, Vic. How are you? Good evening.
Great. Good evening to you. You got the Christmas tree up and ready to go already? Did you put the lights outside yet or no?
No lights. It's just Marge and myself. We do it easy, but I thought I'd put the tree up just for you guys.
Thank you. I love it. Anytime somebody decorates in the background, it adds to the production value of this show. What did you think about last week's game? Were you nervous?
Last week's game? No, actually, I felt pretty comfortable, quite frankly. Second half, defense really stepped it up, and I just had a feeling. I really did, you know?
Do you have the same feeling I do? And I don't want to get arrogant about this, but everybody keeps talking about this rematch with Clemson, and oh boy, here comes Trevor Lawrence. I'm really not that fearful. I mean, it's not to say that I don't respect Clemson, but I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame beat Clemson again with Trevor Lawrence.
Well, everybody you talk to said it's tough to do it twice in 1 year, but you know what? I'm on your side. I think I think our guys could step up to it and know what's on the line. And hey, it's all about the ACC championship, and let's do it. Yes,
yeah, I agree.
absolutely.
This week it's all about Syracuse, David. What do you got?
Oh, I got some big feelings and big numbers this Saturday.
Okay.
I think Ian Book's going to kind of go wild for 3 quarters. Senior game, I think he's going to walk out just with a big smile on his face. I'm calling the Irish to win big, 52-17. I think going to push it across the on the end zone 7 times, and Dewar's going to kick 1 field goal. The spot by the score, obviously we're going to beat the spot, even though it's 33.5. And total yards, I think it's going to be somewhere around 550, and maybe even a little north of that.
Yeah, I hope it's so good, and they collect so much in the yardage department that Ian Book is watching from the sideline in the fourth quarter.
I agree. Get him ready for Wake the week after, and let's do our thing.
Well, I don't know if you heard, they canceled that game. The ACC took it off the schedule.
Right after I said that, I thought you should cut your tongue off, because you just listened to the news and you did hear it was canceled.
It's quite all right. That's why we have the edit button. David, thank you very much, man. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least on Vic's Picks, representing the Soren Society, class of 84, from Santa Barbara, California, Barry Fay. Barry, how are you?
I'm doing great, Vic. This is very exciting to be on this program. So I enjoy the show.
Yeah. Where'd you get that football that you have on the bookcase there? That looks cool.
That was for a Orange County. I live in Santa Barbara, but I wound up donating to kind of an Orange County thing, and it has all the signatures of all the Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. So it's a pretty special football.
So every part of the country has a Notre Dame club. We have a vibrant one here in Denver. How is the Notre Dame club in your area?
Well, there are not a lot of people. Santa Barbara is fairly small, so there's not a lot of alumni in this club. But it's a nice club, but there's not a lot of members. When I lived in Orange County after graduating, that was a super active club.
Well, you live in a beautiful part of California, that's for sure. What do you think is going to happen this week?
I'm a little more conservative maybe than some of the other people who've picked. I'm going with the Irish 38-13. So obviously then we won't be covering the spread. And then 474 yards. I think Notre Dame is definitely going to take their foot off the gas, play a lot of players. So that's why I think they're not going to dominate as much as they could. So I'm factoring that in versus just, how if they were really playing to win as big as they could, obviously it'd be a different story.
So what kind of conversation are you having with your non-Notre Dame friends? And they know you're a Notre Dame person. Do they, it's only a matter of time before you, how do they treat it?
Yeah, there's definitely that, which you can't blame them. So I think, as you said earlier, we have to do it. We have to prove it. And that was one of the things with obviously beating Clemson to begin with. We hadn't beaten a top 5 team and, all those things. Well, now all those go away. So, but it is going to be tough. It's not so much about Lawrence coming back, but they've got some of their defensive players back. We're a little banged up on the offensive line. I think those are going to be bigger factors than Lawrence coming back, because DJ, he's a stud. And obviously Clemson's offense wasn't the problem.
You're right. That's 2 valid points there. Barry, thank you very much for your analysis, your predictions. Let's hope you win a sweatshirt.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Time now for my picks, and I'm very much like Barry. I'm very conservative when it comes to this. I'm not a big fan of those big numbers, the big spreads. I've never been one. I just think it's a no-win situation for the team that's favored, especially a team that is already earmarked to play in the ACC title game. Notre Dame just has to get out of this game unscathed, as I mentioned. Get out of here with no injuries. Get out of here with some semblance of momentum again. Win the game. No style points. I don't care how they win this game. I mean, if they win by a field goal, I might be a bit concerned. But how you win the game doesn't matter to me. Let's take a look at my final numbers. I don't think they're going to cover. Notre Dame does win 44-17. Again, that number's a little too rich for me. 530 yards of total offense. That is Vic's Picks for the week. Before we welcome back Ryan, let me toss it to a cool little hype video called Rally.
Before we march onward to victory,
before we shake down the thunder,
before we wake up the echoes,
before we fight in every game,
before we raise for gold and blue, we rally.
We rally.
We rally.
Oh, I better rally right now. I was sort of chilling out there for a while. Had my feet up on the desk, ready to mosey out of here. Turn your mic on there, Ryan. I can't hear a word you're saying, and I know you're razzing me.
Rally up, man.
Yeah.
Get your feet off the table, Vic. You know, you look like you're playing video games.
Hey,
you know, I love that.
Let me show you what Notre Dame is going to look like this week and how intense this game's going to. This is the intensity level right here against Syracuse. Is that a problem to not really take this game as seriously as I should?
No, I think people are going to have more problems with your three-quarter high socks, but I love it, man. Old school. Keep the Converse, baby.
My kids kill me on that every day, but they're so
I wear them with socks, and I wear socks with sandals. Hey, those kids don't know. Let them pay the bills to give some criticism.
Right. In your vast analysis of the Syracuse Orange, what do you see there? Any reason to worry?
You know, I worry if Notre Dame doesn't take this game seriously, because this is your last tune-up before you face the greatest quarterback in college football, arguably since Eli Manning. You know, or Patrick Mahomes. So you need to make sure that your intensity and focus is there. I anticipate a quick start by Notre Dame, and I want to see some other players get in and win the game for Notre Dame. It's a totally different thing if you get in the third or fourth quarter. But if you can get in that second quarter, if Notre Dame can build a sizable lead early, well, all of a sudden now you've got other players who have to win games and have to make plays and have to get first downs, not just running out the clock. Mm-hmm. And that's better for the team moving forward.
And I agree. You know, I don't want to look to next year. Nobody wants to look past this year because so much is on the line. But this is the prime opportunity for some of those backups, namely Ian Book's backup, to give us a glimpse, give us a look-see. What do we have in store for next season?
Well, and I'm sure Ian Book's going to be paying attention too. People forget, because of the pandemic, no one loses a year of eligibility. And I know people, you know, and I know being a player, especially at Notre Dame, you want to test yourself in the NFL. I also know, playing with quarterbacks who are under 6'2", that it's a different game in the NFL. The passing lanes are different. The benefit for Ian Book is that he's been behind an NFL offensive line, right, this entire season especially. So I do want to see Drew Pine and Brendan Clark, see what they can do. And that also will help Notre Dame's recruiting staff to say, hey, what kind of players do we need to target moving forward, even beyond that quarterback position? So get in there, let some players have some fun. I'd love to see other guys win a game for Notre Dame and let the Irish come out quick and finish strong.
Well, thankfully, these sweatshirts are nice and warm. We need warmth this week. It's been cold in Denver. It's been a little bit chilly over here. It's been another fun episode of Here Come the Irish, Ryan. We look to do this again. Well, who knows when we do this again, because the Wake Forest game is off the charts right now. I guess it's going to be before the ACC title, correct?
ACC title game show. Make sure you're here for it. And hopefully that's only one of the last 3 shows that we have left this season.
All right, buddy. For Ryan Harris, I'm Vic Lombardi. We'll let you off the table now with a little look at the Notre Dame Victory March, compliments of the Notre Dame Drumline.